Welcome to Gerald Khalil's Conversation Piece. I share my thoughts on social content, sports, politics, and entertainment. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. So we have an interesting show today. There's been an ongoing debate on whether trans athletes, particularly trans women athletes, should be able to participate in women's activities. Now, the White House does not believe that they should, and back on February 5th, Donald Trump signed an executive order barring trans athletes from competing in women's sports. Now, the White House then froze $175 million of funding to Penn University over trans athletes. Now, if you remember, former Penn swimmer Leah Thomas was at the center of a debate. Should or shouldn't trans women participate in women's sports activities? Now, Penn University has relented and is now barring trans women from competing in women's sports. Now, the University of Maine's their collegiate system has agreed to comply to Donald Trump's order to keep transgender athletes out of women's sports after the White House froze funding to its 8 public universities. Now, Trump has gotten pushback from Maine Governor Janet Mills, where Mills has stated that she would see Trump in court. Here's Trump's position on reasons for his executive order and his exchange with Mills.
2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race. And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years got shattered. But, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years, and then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned, and he knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That will be a record not going to be broken again in a long. So we put a ban on it, and to protect women. I mean, the women, if you watch the Olympics, you had 2 transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category, and if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die. And it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Now, Trump said on Saturday, even though the state of Maine has complied to the order and has apologized for Mills, this is the statement from Trump. While the state of Maine has apologized for the governor's strong but totally incorrect statement about men playing in women's sports while at the White House Governor's Conference, we have not heard from the governor herself, as she is the one that matters in such cases, he wrote early Saturday on Truth Social. Therefore, we need a full-throated apology from the governor herself, and a statement that she will never make such an unlawful challenge to the federal government again before this case can be settled, he continued. I'm sure she will be able to do that quite easily. So you heard the anti-trans position from the president. Let's hear the pro-trans position from Dawn Staley, coach of the University of South Carolina women's basketball team. Now, this statement was made last year during the 2024 NCAA Women's Basketball Tournament.
If you're a woman, you should play. If you consider yourself a woman and you want to play sports or vice versa, you should be able to play.
Do you think transgender women should be able to participate
That's your question
in
you
college
want me to
basketball?
ask. I mean, you want to ask, so I'll give you that. Yes. Yes. So now the barnstorm of people are going to flood my timeline and be a distraction to me on one of the biggest days of our game. And I'm okay with that.
Also, here's a statement from Austin Killips. She's the first transgender woman cyclist to win a professional road stage race. Now, she says that Trump's executive order is a perfect scam. He and his accolades get to talk endlessly about the fake specter of trans athletes invading women's sports while never putting any of their attention, immense political cachet, and funding access towards things that would meaningfully elevate the state of women's sports. Instead, they get to fixate their hate and attention on every transsexual woman that dares to show up to a rec t-ball league with her friends. Meanwhile, the women who simply want to compete and labor as athletes are left in the cold. So you've heard the position from both sides of the aisle. Now, here's my take. Now, I've asked a few women about sharing a locker room with a trans woman, and the feedback kind of surprised me. They said they really didn't care. They've done it before, and it didn't bother them. They said that these women wouldn't look upon them in a sexual manner because they were attracted to men, and thus is the reason why they've transitioned. So they said that they feared heterosexual men more than anything, and I thought that was quite telling. Now, my position, I was looking at it as a parent, right? How would I feel if my daughter shared a locker room with someone I deemed a man? And to be honest with you, I would be uncomfortable with that. I'm just being honest. I would be really uncomfortable with that. But that's not the debate here. The debate is about these women participating in women's sports. But you see, this is what we have at the root of this. Fear and ignorance, right? Now, some folks are okay with it, some aren't. People tend to attack or discriminate against those that they don't understand or fear. So this is something, speaking for myself, that I'm going to have to educate myself on a personal level, as well others will have to do. Now, on the subject of trans women participating in women's sports, I think they should have their own leagues, their own events. And the locker rooms that I'm so worried about, they won't be an issue if they had their own events, right? And this should happen on the pro, collegiate, high school level, and even definitely the Olympics. And that may not end all the debates, but it'll calm down the chatter, because the trans woman athlete, and all trans athletes for that matter, they'll be able to compete. And cis women, in this case, won't have to worry about competing at a disadvantage. But here's the question that many trans athletes have been asking. How many of us are there to make such a big issue out of this? It's a fair question. But because of fear and ignorance, it's a question that I'll no doubt take years to honestly answer. What's your thoughts? Leave them in the comment section. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Gerald Khalil. And I'll see you in the next one.